Sit! Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey, that was a week and.
He's Garrett Price.
He's tired from last week.
Yeah, I'm still out of breath from my long and, which I could have gone longer, by the way.
What was the time? What was
31
the official time?
seconds.
Yeah, 31.
Yeah,
right. So you cracked
31.
But I started laughing.
30-second mark.
I had so much air left in my lungs. I was laughing. So we're back. This is the pre-vacation show. So we're gonna do a game. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. Like Matt and I are both going on vacation. We're in vacation mode, yeah. So like we're ready to have some fun. Garrett's got some games for us. We got Nerd Herd questions for the Nerd Herd show. We pretty much got one foot out the door, but we are committed to the Dynasty Nerd and the Nerd Herd community. So let's get in. What do you got for us today, Garrett? What are we going to get into before I talk about our partners?
I was going to say we got to make sure we talk about Underdog and all that, but we're going to do Pick Your Poison again because that's everybody loves Pick Your Poison, debating two players that are close. But last week we didn't get to the Isaiah Likely-o-meter, and so we've got a few questions that we're going to go through there, and we'll see what kind of time we have after that. But Pick Your Poison and the Isaiah Likely-o-meter.
All right. Well, while everybody out right now is out, the Scott Fish Bowl's kicked off. If you're on Twitter, you see everybody tweeting their teams out. I'm tweeting my team out. I'm part of the. Yeah. Hey, if all the cool kids are doing it, give me that group. One loser trying to squeeze his way in there. That's me. So the Scott Fish Bowl is going on. If you want to try and get into the Scott Fish Bowl, which is over 3,300 participants this year, it grows every single year. If you go to Underdog, they have a Scott Fish Bowl contest out there right now for $5, and that money goes to the Fantasy Cares website to help out the kids around Christmas time. So it's Underdog, man. It's the easiest place to go play fantasy football. Now that NFL draft is done, Best Ball Mania is kicked off. You got the little tournaments with your friends. That's what Underdog is. It allows you to play best ball, where you just set your lineup, you draft, you participate in 1,000 drafts like everybody else, and then that's it. You're done until the football season's over, and then you just rake in the cash. It's that simple. The Underdog, you download the app, you put in the promo code NERDS, they match your deposit up to $100. You get a free year membership of the Nerd Herd, which gives you all kinds of cool access to tools and shows, and then you win major cash. I mean, what else is there to sell you, people? Get out there. Puff up your pockets with green or euro or coins. Who knows how it works out. You might get some coins. Download the Underdog app. Use the promo code NERDS. At least $10. We'll send you an email. You're going to get a free year membership to the Nerd Herd with all our tools, the film room, all that, and have a very good time doing so and just try to win that $3 million. And if you do win that $3 million, please hire me as your consultant.
Could you imagine $3 million in coins?
Yeah,
that's some Scrooge.
Back of a dump truck.
That's some Scrooge McDuck stuff right there. You got to have a vault, and you got to be able to dive in there.
That's all. And that's the only way I can get it. Go ahead, drop it off in pennies. I don't care. I'll pay somebody to start wrapping those. We'll be in business. $3 million in coins. I saw some funny meme the other day. They're like, "Oh, would you rather have $700,000 in pennies or $70,000 cash?" It was just like a little thing, and like all the people were in the $70,000 dollars cash sign, not realizing there was like 700,000 pennies. Yeah. I don't know why I thought of that, but I did. So,
I mean, you got to take the $700,000 worth of pennies.
Well, yeah, Matt, it's kind of showed up. I think it was something to show people are morons. And I'm sorry for bringing it on the show, but it popped in my head and I can't control myself. I got urges.
Well, getting back to the Scott Fish Bowl, I wish my T-shirt came in. I ordered 3 of them. I was hoping to wear one of them on the show tonight. I had the Miller Lite one because that's the division I'm in.
Nice.
I had the Patron one, which is also pretty cool. And then I forgot. I couldn't remember what the third one I ordered was. It was the Cheers one. Just going back to because that Cheers always is going to have a special place in my heart, just from growing up in that era. Okay. But the Cheers one.
Yeah, I have 2. I got the Mike Connects, of course, which is what division I'm in, and I got the Texas Roadhouse because I can't get over those rules, and the best house, the side sell in the game as well. But I'm like, dude, I need more because I saw John Bosch post that ramen noodle one, and like I really want the ramen noodle one because that's how I lived in college. Without ramen noodles, I might not even be here today. So thank you, ramen noodles. And
do you remember how good Shayna's ramen noodles were? I don't know what she did to those things. She was the best at cooking.
No,
ramen
I know
noodles.
exactly what she did because I literally cook my ramen noodles exactly the same. It's where you just put just enough water in so it cooks it, but then by the time you get done, the water is evaporated. So all you get left is pretty much just the noodles. And then I put crushed red pepper in it and I stir it up.
Whew.
I still eat ramen noodles like once probably a month here still because I can't get over it. Like I'm just from the college, I still do it. Like I think about it, I was like, man, if I won $1 billion and I was a billionaire, I'd probably still eat ramen like every couple months. Like
you'd still eat those 25-cent ramens.
Yeah, they're not good for you. They're like full of sodium. They're not healthy, but like I don't care. I don't care. I'm not Mr. Glamorous over here, workout body king. You can't see my abs. I think I have them somewhere.
There's a show. I can't think of what it's called. But it was with Maya Rudolph, and it was the same kind of thing where she's like worth like billions of dollars, and this like chef makes her this like super fancy meal, and she's like, "Hey, this looks great, but can I get a frozen burrito?" She's like, "Yeah, fine." Like goes to the freezer.
Yeah, dude, I'm still getting Chipotle. I know people say, "Oh, no, you wouldn't, Rich, because you'd have a personal chef make it," and maybe I would. Maybe it'd still be the same, but like
I would just have the personal chef run to Taco Bell for me. That would be the only difference.
Yeah. Hey, can you go get my Taco Bell? You don't forget the sour cream, Buster.
I don't want to pay DoorDash. I'll pay a private
I was
chef.
going to say, they got things for that now.
Nope. I'm a billionaire. I got to have a private chef, but he's more just a...
Dude, number one, I think I would get after I bought a house would be if I was a billionaire as a private chef, 100%.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
I'd gain so much weight.
Never have to cook again.
Wouldn't even care. No, but I wouldn't even care because I wouldn't even gain weight because I have a personal trainer too. Like, there
you go.
The kind of one like I'm not even running. Like there's just somebody like moving my legs for me really fast. Yeah, that's how I'd be doing it.
You could get one of those infomercial things that like shocks your abs every little bit. You know?
Whatever it takes. Fat's coming in, just suck it on out, Doc. It's okay. Give me that ramen.
We have completely gotten derailed.
We really have.
Pick your poison: ramen noodles or Taco Bell.
Oh, I know what I'm picking.
Yeah, ramen noodles.
100
That's why I'm
100%.
100%.
100 times out of 100.
It's funny. My son's baseball game today. We were debating Cane's, Raising Cane's, or Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. For the
I've never had Raising Cane's.
Bread.
Oh,
Cane's.
Oh yeah, you want that bread?
I love Cane's bread. That's separate. But if I'm just debating chicken, it's 100%.
It was just my son's birthday. We catered it from Raising Cane's, and I had to go pick it up. I ate 2 pieces of bread in the car on the way back, and then I ate 4 pieces of bread when I got back. And there was another kid that was here, and that's all he wanted was the bread. He ate like 5 pieces, and I'm like, I told my wife, I was like, damn, between me and Austin, we ate like 10 pieces of bread. She's like, I had one piece of bread.
It's because you guys got to it, man.
I'm like, I wish you would have saved that for me.
Did you do the BBS?
What's that?
Butter both sides. You got to tell them BBS when you go through.
Oh, dude, I'll remember that next time because this was like catered, obviously. So we just had like bags upon bags of food. But usually when I do go to Cane's, I get the whole, no coleslaw, 2 pieces of bread, please.
No coleslaw.
Yeah, don't waste my time with that. Come on, keep your shredded cabbage and mayonnaise to yourself.
Get that cabbage and carrots out of here, man.
I had somebody in front of me one time get no toast and extra slaw, and I was like, that person can't be trusted. I don't know who you are. I can't trust you.
I can't. We're not compatible.
Nope. 100%. And what was the money move? The money move is, we got the fries, like a couple trays of fries, and the fries were kind of soggy, which is kind of bogus. But the next day, guess what we had for lunch and dinner? Cane's. And what my wife did was she threw those fries right back in an air fryer.
Yes, that's the way.
My son's response was this. He's like, Dad, next time we want Cane's, we should order it a day ahead of time and then get the fries and put it in the air fryer and then eat the fries. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, son. Pretty good stuff.
Kid's got good ideas, man.
Oh, he does. He's a Dotson for sure. So
that's rocking the sunglasses at night if you're watching on YouTube here.
Dude, it's vacation mode. I don't know. Let's do this.
I mean, we're
not even talking Dynasty. Yeah, we're talking all sorts of other stuff. It's all
Scott Fishbowl, man. It's trying to bring the people together. You know, that's why I love that new thing they're doing on Underdog with that. Try to get in, and you keep applying because Scott does a really good job of trying to get everybody in there. I got Matt Harmon in my division. I got Chad Parsons in my division. Yeah, I got like 2 big time analysts in my division. I'm going against them. I'll beat their ass. I can't wait. You know, no disrespect, boys, but I'm taking away the champ. I mean, you got to remember, I came in top 8 2 years ago. So they're like, I'm a big time guy now in the Scott Fishbowl. We'll see. I got risky. And took Kyle Pitts as my second tight end before I took any running backs. So I got 2 tight ends, Hawkinson and Pitts. And then now there's literally 9 running backs in a row that went. But it's okay because I'm gonna take Miles Sanders to go with Joe Mixon and everything be okay.
There you go. All right, let's get to the game.
Can the game be like who's on the board for Scott Fishbowl for me and you guys stuff
for you?
I want to win. All right, let's get to the game. I don't even know what we're playing, but get me in there.
We might have to start a fantasy food league. I'm not sure how it would work or how you get points, but it sounds fantastic.
Oh, dude. Know what we should do? Because we could do custom rankings on our site on the Dynasty Nerds app. Dude, we should, because you know you can do your own rankings like on the Dynasty Nerds app, the users can. We should put the food on there. We do our rankings. We get to ADP, and then we get the users' rankings in ADP.
Ooh, that's not a bad idea. And that week, I'll get as many of those things as I can eat. And then if the service isn't good or it comes out cold or whatever, they drop in the rankings.
Miles Sanders just won the Scott Fishbowl Mike and Ike division. I'm in big trouble. Oh, yeah, you get risky for that other tight end, and here we go.
Hey, play to win the game.
I'll be okay. I'll take Dameon Pierce if I have to. Dalvin Cook's still on the board, too.
Is James Conner still there?
No, he went, too. Otherwise, he'd have been gone, too. Oh, Javonte Williams and DeAndre Swift is still there. I'm not up, but I'm going to
I just got James Conner in the 7th. I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, he went in the 4th for mine.
Woo!
Yeah.
I got him in the 7th. Let's go.
I wish.
All right,
he's one of my top targets.
Pick your poison. Dynasty, of course, we're talking a lot of redraft at the moment with the Scott Fishbowl, but remember, this is the Dynasty Nerds, not the redraft nerds, not the Scott Fishbowl nerds. This is Dynasty Nerds. So I will give you 2 players that ADP-wise are pretty close. You'll tell me which player you would prefer for your Dynasty squads and why. And remember, this is Dynasty Nerds, Superflex, Tight End Premium, ADP.
God, I'm ready to get all the right answers here.
All right, let's get it. First one here, running back number 5. He's moved up in the July rankings, or in the July ADP, I should say. Saquon Barkley at RB5. Would you rather Saquon Barkley at RB5 or Jahmyr Gibbs at RB6?
I mean, from a dynasty standpoint, that one's really close, but I'm probably going to go Jahmyr Gibbs just based off of the age, right? I mean, Saquon Barkley obviously has tons of upside, and the offense is basically running through him, right? I mean, he's the most special player there, and he's going to catch a ton of passes. But Jahmyr Gibbs is just so much younger, and he's going to be doing a ton of pass catching as well. So for me, it's Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, I like Jahmyr Gibbs in an offense with Ben Johnson, and how creative it's going to get and how they're growing an offense and offensive line. But for me, I'm still going to go Saquon Barkley here. I know you always want to grab youth, but in this situation, Jahmyr Gibbs is somewhat like an unknown. Like, I know he's got the draft capital. I know he's in a good system, but we don't know how dominant he's going to be between the tackles. Like, is he going to be Alvin Kamara, which is still a massive win? We know Saquon Barkley is a 3-down running back. We know he's very, very viable in the passing game. We know now he's a full year removed from that, like over a year removed now from the ACL injury, playing for a big contract. There's no guarantee that the Giants are going to extend Saquon Barkley. I mean, the longer we get into the season, the less likely that's going to look, which means for me as a dynasty player, if I have Saquon Barkley, I'm okay with that because like the next team he goes to play for, like they're going to give him a contract. He's going to get at least 2 years guaranteed. So it's telling me that we got at least 3 more years, probably, if not 4 more years of Saquon, which, can we get out of Jahmyr Gibbs? If he becomes Alvin Kamara, we're looking still about 6 years. So in that window, out of a guy that I can't guarantee is going to be a between the tackle running back, a power running back, and not a generational running back that Saquon was coming out. And I know he had that one down year, but the Giants have done a really good job on the offensive line. But bringing Darren Waller should help and open up some things in the passing game as well with those receiving options. So for me, I'm of course, the ADP is close. It's really close for me. But if I'm in Dynasty, I would take Saquon easily over Jahmyr Gibbs in a startup. And if somebody offered me that, if I'm like a tender or like middle of the road, I'm still taking Saquon Barkley in a trade via trade if somebody offered me that. Like if I was on a clock in a 1 QB league, say, or say it's even Superflex, and I'm on a clock there at 1-5 and Jahmyr Gibbs on the board and I want to move up for Jahmyr Gibbs and they offer me Saquon Barkley, I would take that deal right away.
Now, reminder, I didn't do a good job of saying this at the beginning. This is startup draft. So that doesn't change anything for you, correct?
No, not at all. I mean, because like
just making sure
the way I would build my team in a startup is like I'm definitely going to try and win year one. And I mean, Saquon's in that right mode. Like I said, that 2 to 4 year window, which is kind of like outside of like when you draft like a Bijan, something on those lines. But I mean, any other running back you take. I mean, if you think Jonathan Taylor, say Jonathan Taylor's running back 1 at 4 in startup mode, right? What are you looking at Jonathan Taylor right now? A 2 to 4 year window, and like even that 4 year window in Jonathan Taylor, you could say is stretching it now for how long he's been in the league. I know Saquon's been in the league a little bit longer, but every other running back, I mean, you're in that same mode. Like I look at all those guys the same, like even the good guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, like 2 to 4 years, 2 to 4 years, 2 to 4 years. And if I look at Saquon like that, I'm just going to take the premier talent. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to split the tie here. You guys win on each side of it. I'm still going with Gibbs, who originally was the RB5. They just switched in the most recent ADP. And for me, it's the 5 years. I mean, there's a 5-year gap between Saquon Barkley and Jahmyr Gibbs. And for me, that's such a big one. And I know you're saying 2 to 4 years. I think the 4 is really optimistic with Barkley, who's 26 right now. 4 years, you're saying he's still going to be a top end guy at 30.
Yes,
where in a few years, Gibbs will be 24, 25 years old because he's 21 right now. So that's the difference for me. They used a top 15 pick on him. They're going to use him in the receiving game. They've talked about that a ton. And granted, we haven't seen it, so there's no guarantee they actually do what they say they're going to do. But if things work out as we plan, he should be an RB1 for the foreseeable future. So I just think the 5 years is just too much for me. Had it been more like 3 years, I think I would have gone Barkley, but 5 is just a little too many for me.
Yeah, 5 years is a lot. You're kind of swayed. Like that's all you had to sway to make me feel like, oh, did I make the wrong choice? Like 5 years is a long time. But I mean, but at the same time, like I said, if it's a startup, I think I'd build my team around like young wide receivers and everything as well. Like, and he's kind of running back I would try to grab early. So I feel like the most juice I'm going to get, like I feel more comfortable with is Saquon. Like obviously I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I think I get a ton of juice out of that fruit, but like, I feel like it's still like a question mark. I'm very confident in Saquon Barkley. So, but you guys are probably right. I'm probably wrong, but we'll see. In 5 years.
Rich, it does just boil down to exactly what you're going to get from Saquon, and Jahmyr Gibbs is all projection at this point, and you have to be able to balance that. And for me, the age difference is enough, and the fact that he got drafted so high. I mean, we've said that a few times already. That they're gonna, I feel confident that they're going to get him involved. Now, whether or not it translates, who the hell knows? But Saquon Barkley is obviously the safer choice for the next 2 or 3 years. So if you're a contender, that's the way you're building a contender on a startup. That's the way you're going to go over Jahmyr Gibbs, and that makes sense. But if you're just looking for longevity and still a very high end asset, then you're going for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Hey, I got a question for you. Pick your poison for you guys. Same all two players. You're talking about 2 dynamic, fantastic first names here, Jahmyr and Saquon. Like those are solid names. What name would you choose over there? Jahmyr?
I think I got to go with Jahmyr because of how it's spelled. It is spelled so
good.
Differently.
I know. It looks so good.
It does. It
flows. I'm just reading them. It's such a nice name. But Saquon's so strong. It just sounds like it.
What's your name? I like Saquon, to be honest.
I think I'd go Saquon too. That's like they're both really good names though. Like I like them a lot. Like I might have to go to not the adoption agency, the naming agency, and talk about my kids' names.
Saquon Jahmyr Dotson.
I mean, I've already changed my youngest son's name already from Baker Mayfield Dotson. Like I'm gonna have to change it to something different. I mean, LaDainian Tomlinson Dotson has a good ring to it. I know that's like an all timer for me. So okay, I want
on Dotson.
Saquon wins. Okay, Saquon wins one battle this round at least. Next question, please.
Dude, all LTD right. Sounds pretty good too. Like that rolls off. Ooh. So
sounds like you could. That's like something bad you can get when you have mischievous relations with somebody who likes to have mischievous relations consistently in dirty places.
Got that man, I got that
LTD. Oh man, actually, it doesn't even sound that bad though. Even when you try to make it sound bad, it doesn't sound bad. Oh man, I got that LTD. I'm like, oh, sounds you had a great time, didn't you? I'm like, yeah, I did. Yeah, it was worth it. Wouldn't be the first time.
I don't even want to know what the L stands for.
Love, Matt. Love.
All right, moving to the wide receiver.
The second word is the, and then the last word begins with a D. So just go ahead and kick a guess.
Wide receiver 27, Calvin Ridley.
Donuts,
or
Matt. Donuts.
Defense.
Yes! I love the defense.
This is a fantasy football podcast, man. Come on.
Come on, Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith on ends. Come on, what's better than that? Love that defense.
LTD, man.
Yeah, it's not. I love the defense. I love that defense. Love it. LTD
defense.
Get it.
LTD.
Next.
All right. Wide receiver 27, Calvin Ridley, the newly acquired Jaguar, or wide receiver 29, Terry McLaurin.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Give me Calvin Ridley, because I'm singing myself a little diddly, and it goes a little something like this. He's such a good route runner, so when you draft him, it's much more funner, even though funner is really not a word. No, more fun.
Dude, that was a terrible song, man. I'm not going to lie.
I'm a terrible singer.
Everyone's ears out there.
A terrible singer. I'm a terrible diddly writer.
Peter, cut that out so we can use that as a soundbite for things later.
Not if you want to keep it out, Peter. You won't.
And it was the wrong advice too on top.
No way, dude. Let me explain myself.
We are all dumber for having listened to that.
Listen, when it comes to age wise, they're pretty similar in age. They're right, they're almost the same age. So you can't argue age with Terry McLaurin and Calvin Ridley. And when it comes to route running, they're both really good route runners, but Calvin Ridley is an elite route runner. And I'm just going to go ahead and take the situation here. Terry McLaurin, who also has a good wide receiver opposite of him. I know he has Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, but Terry McLaurin's got Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson. But Calvin Ridley's just paired up with a generational quarterback, a quarterback that's gotten better last year, and I just about to take a big step forward this year in Trevor Lawrence, my first-round pick at Scott Fishbowl. And, coming out a year where, not coming off injuries, a full year removed, yes, but a receiver that, before he had his, problems there in Atlanta, he was going in the first round of startups. He was that good. He's an absolute elite fantasy football route runner or NFL route runner with great hands, knows how to produce. We saw what Christian Kirk could do in that offense last year. So if Christian Kirk could produce at a high level, I completely expect Calvin Ridley to compete at a higher level and produce for our fantasy football teams even more. If Terry McLaurin was on, the roles were reversed and he was playing with Trevor Lawrence, I'd probably look at there differently. But I just love the situation with Calvin Ridley a little bit more. And I know he hasn't played in a couple of years, but it'd be no difference how I felt about when Christian McCaffrey didn't play for those 2 years because of injury, or Saquon being back for a year and a half. I feel very comfortable about where he is, and that not like Atlanta where all that pressure is on top of him because of all the weapons they have around him with Evan Ingram as well in the run game. So with Terry McLaurin, we don't feel strong about the run game. We don't feel strong about the quarterback game. I just don't, from a fantasy football perspective, I'm shooting all upside here, and I'm going to take the guy who I saw put up wide receiver 1 numbers, where Terry McLaurin to me just seems like he's a wide receiver 2. I don't see the ceiling there for being a wide receiver 1 pretty much now because of his age, almost for pretty much for the rest of his career, which is doesn't mean he's bad. Calvin really still offers that wide receiver 1 upside. So I'm going to go ahead and chase that down.
Yeah. I mean, I guess.
Now Mr. Switchy Pants, go ahead.
You have some good points there, Rich, that you brought up about his age. Specifically, for some reason, I always forget that Terry McLaurin's on the older side. Yeah. So I thought he was closer.
8 months apart.
Yeah, I thought he was closer to 25, 26. I forget he's 27 already. And I do agree with you that Calvin Ridley has probably the higher upside. The unfortunate thing and why I initially, I'm thinking my initial thoughts were Terry McLaurin's younger. Terry McLaurin's been playing. And that's the concern that's kind of still gnawing at the back of my mind. Calvin Ridley, before he got suspended and all that stuff, he was in a kind of a dark place. Hopefully he's gotten all that stuff turned around and straightened out, and he's back to loving football. because I feel like he was not there for even before he got suspended, before the gambling stuff. So as long as he's got all that stuff straightened out, he's the more talented player. And considering they are closer in age than I thought, I would probably go Calvin Ridley as well. So my initial thoughts and me kind of saying that you made the wrong decision, Rich, was probably me jumping the gun a little.
It was you making the wrong decision. It was you.
It was me. It was me. It was me making the wrong decision, Rich. And I'm not afraid to admit it. It's okay.
Look at you being the bigger man. I'm with you guys. I really want, and I'm similar to Matt in this, where I really wanted to go Terry McLaurin because I love Terry McLaurin as a player. He's consistently good year in and year out, but at the end of the day, he doesn't offer the same type of ceiling that Calvin Ridley does. And at wide receiver, 27 for one, 29 for the other, like you're looking at a wide receiver 3 at this point. So why not shoot for the upside? I'm not having to play it safe with my wide receiver 3. I would rather go for the upside, go for wide receiver 3 prices that could get me wide receiver 1 return for the next 2 years. So I think we're 3 for 3 on this one.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you buy a house that has 8-foot ceilings, you're like, oh, this is still a nice house. This is comfortable. But if you walk into a house and you got you could get cathedral ceilings, what are you taking? All day. Give me those cathedral ceilings. Come on.
That's right.
Be a big picture of me up there. No shirt on. Eating ramen noodles.
All right,
fancy ramen noodles with the crushed red pepper and
dude, you gotta put crushed red pepper on them for sure. Then you don't wear a shirt because then if you drop a noodle, you got those noodle catchers on your left and right pack.
Is that the beard catcher thing?
Are you referring to the hairs on your nipples as noodle catchers?
First of all, I was just referring to my nipples. Period. I don't have hair on my nipples, you Sasquatch.
Oh, I'm not a very hairy person, but I do have a few hairs on my nipples.
Oh, I know.
We're at almost 27 minutes and we've made it through 2 players or 2 sets of players.
Hey,
all right.
Don't catch me on vacation mode, bro.
We'll see if we get that Likely-o-meter this week.
Yeah, poor Isaiah Likely. He just keeps getting forgotten.
I mean, if you pick up the pace over and get the questions out, maybe when they have these conversations.
Quarterback 6, Lamar Jackson versus quarterback 8, Justin Field. Pick your poison.
Man, this one's kind of tough for me.
Yeah, it's tough for me too. But I know who
obviously
I want.
you get the years with Fields. Neither one of them has established themselves as a great thrower of the football, but I think Justin Fields still has the upside there to be a better thrower than Lamar Jackson, just from a purely mechanical throwing standpoint. I'm going to go Fields. I think he offers, he hasn't been injured and nicked up like Lamar has the past few years. And I kind of like where that whole team's going. So I'm going to go Justin Fields.
Yeah, me too. I know. And I know most people would say, the right choice is Lamar Jackson. And you're probably right. You know what I mean? But we're talking about a player who hasn't finished the last 2 years healthy. I know he just got the bag and good for him. But I mean, he hasn't finished the last 2 years healthy. I know a couple of years ago he had a boatload of touchdowns and go along with the rushing yards, but we're talking about a player where the main juice for him is his rushing ability. Every year he gets older, the quicker that dries out and the less excited you get about that. In the long run, you want somebody that can throw a football for a long term. And where you're taking both these players, you're looking for the cornerstone player of your franchise. You're talking about this is the first round pick in your startup league in a super flex. So for me, there's so many more outside of the bag that Lamar got. There's so many more questions. Can he develop better as a thrower? Will he get hurt again? How much longer can he run the football? Will they even keep running that way now that he did get paid, right? Are they going to keep even using him that way because now they invested so much into him? I don't know. And yes, there's questions about Justin Fields as well, but kind of goes back to that youth. Give him the youth. I love what they're building around him. I love that he showed he could be a high upside runner last year. I love that his passing game developed more as the year went along. I mean, it was non-existent in the beginning of the year. We saw him have a really nice deep ball at Ohio State as well. So for me, I would shoot for the upside here with Justin Fields and go ahead and gamble that way and hope that I made the right decision. Even though Lamar probably seems like the same thing, kind of like the Calvin Ridley effect or the Saquon argument, right? I know what I'm getting out of Saquon. You feel like you're getting Lamar Jackson, but with everything that's happened from now until a year ago, like, I don't even think that's a guarantee either. Like, I don't think you do know exactly what you're going to get. You know, they go out here, they have 2 first-round receivers on their roster in Bateman and Zay Flowers. They still have Mark Andrews. They overpay Odell Beckham ridiculously by giving them $18 million pretty much. So like they're bringing Todd Monk in. They're clearly wanting to throw the football. And I don't even think, like, I think Lamar's developed nicely as a quarterback, but we still, like, he's got 3 receivers on his roster even now outside of Mark Andrews that you say, like, he's got no rapport with, right? Like, Rashad Bateman's been hurt, so he doesn't throw the football a ton to him. Zay Flowers is a rookie. He's never played with Odell Beckham. So it's all like he's still got to build that chemistry with these guys. And if that's what his main game is going to be, like, I don't know how that's going to play out. Like, that tells me, and then with like J.K. Dobbins, like, are they going to take away his rushing ability? Are they going to tell him, like, hey, we invested too much money in you. You can't run the ball as much as you used to. Throw the football. We don't know how that's going to play out. So it's a mystery to me nonetheless. So I'm going to take Justin Fields.
I thought this would offer some good debate on this one, especially with Lamar Jackson being the higher ranked player. But we're 3 for 3 on this one too. I'm going Justin Fields. And part of it is, look at the amazing season that Lamar Jackson had in 2019. That was the year that he led the league and he was all world fantasy football points wise. His highest scoring game that season was 37 points. Justin Fields in this year, even though he missed a game or two and he started off the year, it was terrible because they weren't doing anything and it was really bad weather and it was just weird. He had 2 games over 40 points. So that shows you what Justin Fields' ceiling is. His ceiling is truly the elite of the elite. So Lamar Jackson in his best season didn't have a single game up to that caliber that Justin Fields did last year. And if we start seeing better consistency in the passing game, we have better offensive line. And I'm worried that if they focus on throwing the ball more with Lamar, is that better for their actual football team? Yes. But is that better for your fantasy football team? I don't know for sure that it is. So there's enough concerns there. The age you guys already mentioned. I think we're 3 for 3 on this.
Yeah,
one.
and you got to consider too, like the draft haul they got for giving that first overall pick too. So they got multiple first round picks too to help kind of build around Justin Fields. So even though they got Chase Claypool there, even though they got Darnell Mooney there, like you would still expect them next year to probably have enough draft capital to probably invest in a really good receiver. You know, if I'm the Bears, honestly, I'm taking a lot of that draft capital. I'm moving up, and I'm giving whatever it takes to get Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, my gosh.
Put on that roster. I mean, that'd be such a good roster for the Bears to have DJ Moore and then have a Marvin Harrison Jr. on a rookie contract to go with Justin Fields, somebody who has played with him before. You know what I mean? His quarterback. I think that'd be if I'm the Bears, if I'm Pace, like that's what I'm doing. Like I'm making sure I go up and get that number 2 overall pick, number 3 overall pick to get Marvin Harrison Jr. on this roster. They'll really help this offense take a big step forward because it looks like they have the draft capital to do it.
It'd be nuts. Let's go back to wide receiver. Wide receiver 10, T. Higgins, or wide receiver 13, DeVonta Smith.
Man, this one is difficult.
For me again. I just know. I usually just know who I want when I look at guys. I'm like, I'll take that guy.
So my initial read on this is I'm going to take DeVonta Smith, but in the back of my mind, there's T. Higgins sitting there, and he's closer to getting. Let's just say freedom. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He might find his way out of Cincinnati. We don't know, I guess, how long he's going to be attached to the number 1 or number 2 dynasty asset. From the wide receiver standpoint. So it's DeVonta Smith is obviously stuck with AJ Brown for the next few years, probably 3 years, but T. Higgins is he's getting towards the end where he can maybe get out and be that last year guy.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So that's why from his talent standpoint, DeVonta Smith, but they're both so young, and with T. Higgins having freedom so close to him, I'm starting to lean back towards T. Higgins a little bit, but I'm going to stick with my gut. I'm going to say DeVonta Smith, but it's really close for me.
How many Heismans has T. Higgins won?
None, Rich.
Good enough excuse for me. That's all you need to know, people. This is a guy who was a wide receiver 1 with AJ Brown on that roster. As he grows with Jalen Hurts, and this team, we know already that AJ Brown does not hinder DeVonta Smith. And I said that last year. Like when I think in my bold predictions, I said like DeVonta Smith would outscore AJ Brown. because I believe that he was just a better overall receiver. And AJ Brown, again, AJ Brown's just an absolute stud. So again, I'm not trying to poo on AJ Brown, but DeVonta Smith is that kind of receiver that no matter where he goes and who he's with, he will consistently win. Like he doesn't need, like obviously he doesn't win side. He's such a good route runner. He's got such good hands. He's so smooth. He will consistently be open for a long, long time. Like he's like a skinny Amari Cooper. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Amari Cooper just produced year in and year out. With just a really savvy route runner, really good football player. I expect him to be fighting for those wide receiver 1 numbers for at least the next 5 to 7 years. Like he is that good. You throw out the Heisman Trophy, like, oh, does he have a Heisman Trophy? But you got to remember, this is the only wide receiver to win the Heisman Trophy in over the last 25, 30 years or so. Like that's how long it's been. Like that's how good he was at Alabama. And we've already seen that already come to fruition here in the NFL. So yeah, is it close? For sure. I mean, every guy we discuss here is going to be close. So it's not like we're not talking about any bad players here. Like I don't want both T. Higgins and DeVonta Smith, but like you said, Matt, as he's closer to freedom with that unknown, yeah, you can be the number 1 guy, but with that unknown doesn't automatically guarantee that he's going to be in the best situation. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't guarantee that where he can go somewhere and be the guy or have a good quarterback or a good coach. You know, we don't know where that's going to go. Yeah, we love him now. He's a good player. He's with Joe Burrow for sure. But we know, like you said, DeVonta Smith, they had the surety that he is in that situation where I know he could be a wide receiver 1. And I think he's just a better wide receiver overall. I would take DeVonta Smith.
I'm going to go with T. Higgins on this one. And we talked about how close it is in both players being so talented, but points per game last year, they were basically identical. And the last few games, point one difference. And those last couple games, T. Higgins was dealing with a hamstring injury. So the last 2 games were 2.3 and 1.7 points per game or points in those last 2 games. So he would have finished slightly higher than DeVonta Smith had that not been the case. But I think it's what Matt mentioned for me, you know, because I know if he does get re-signed, we're going to see almost identical points from these 2 players. Like we're going to see in the 15 to 16 points per game range out of these 2 players if they both stay in the exact same situation. And there's even a chance where, you know, Tyler Boyd's getting older, so maybe whoever the new 3rd wide receiver isn't taking as many targets as a Tyler Boyd would. So there's a slight chance of an increase there. But wherever he goes, even if the quarterback isn't Joe Burrow, I don't see any scenario where his targets decrease. I think no matter where he goes, he's going to get a boost in targets. So if it's a boost in targets, but slightly less accurate than Joe Burrow, well, then we're still at the same point we are and they're even. But if it happens to go to a place where it is a very capable quarterback and he's getting 15, 20, 25 more targets a season, that's the difference between, you know, a guy that is going to be a low-end wide receiver 1 to potentially a high-end wide receiver 1. So I'm just going to take it on that slight upside. I'll go with T. Higgins on this one.
Tell us about our friends at FFPC after this, because we gotta roll. We have to get to the likely-o-meter too. Like we have
I know,
to.
Poor Isaiah Likely. FFPC, they're awesome. Launched in 2010, largest high stakes dynasty league in the community. Over 1,000 active leagues currently running with new startups forming daily, starting at $100. We're on YouTube, guys. They can see you.
I know. We're in vacay mode.
Making fun of Matt.
Continue your read, Garrett. Go ahead.
$100 entries all the way up to $5,000 entries. Orphans, you can get on there, get yourself a team, maybe even a little bit of a discount, but you will for sure get a discount at myffpc.com if you use the promo code NERDS, because you will get $25 off any entry. That's promo code NERDS at myffpc.com. All right. Are you 2 jabronis ready for Isaiah Likely-o-meter?
Wait, we still have pick your poisons.
No, we don't have time. We're at 40 minutes.
Done.
We haven't even touched the Isaiah Likely-o-meter.
All right, we're done with the pick your poisons. We're going to Isaiah Likely-o-meter because we got to get to it.
We got it. This poor guy. All right.
These are my favorite. Let's do this.
That's right. Now, let's recap the rules. Most of these have been established by Matt O'Hara himself.
Yep.
If we're talking about a halfback, you can do half points. Okay.
Quarterback.
If you're talking about a quarterback, you can do quarter points. But we have some new rules established here, Matt. You ready for this?
Oh, all right. Let's hear it.
Wide receiver is wide open. You can pick any increment you want.
Okay. I like it. Yeah.
But tight end, we got to keep it tight.
Got to keep it tight. Full point.
Got it. I like these new rules. See, that's why you do the games consistently, because they evolve over time.
That's right.
Like the best game we do.
And these rules just make sense to me. So
perfect sense.
Let's do it.
We start at 1 to 10. We don't go to 0. I don't know why. 5's halfway, even though it isn't. So it is what it is. All right.
I think on halfbacks you can get 0.5 points. So
that's right. You know. And I mean, quarter points you can still get to a half. You don't have to do a quarter.
Sure.
Just
half point increment.
All right.
Yeah. Get quarter point increments.
All right. Number 1, Bijan Robinson finishes as the RB1 overall this year. Where would you put that on the Isaiah Likely-o-meter from 1 to 10?
6.5.
So, you're very confident he finishes his RB1.
I think I'm not backing down from my pre-draft process when I said he is probably gonna have 2,000 yards from scrimmage. Like he is good he's so good in the passing game. Like that's. And to be a running back 1 overall, you have to be really good in the passing game, most part, unless you're like Adrian Peterson, Derrick Henry. There's outliers, but for the most part, if you could stay healthy, you're viable in the pass game, you're going to finish as a running back 1, and then you're elite running back as well. So as long as he stays healthy, this is a team that's going to be trailing probably a ton. They're going to be dumping off, Desmond Ridder's going to be dumping off passes to Bijan Robinson. He's probably going to catch, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he catches like 90 footballs this year and has 1,000 yards, 1,000 season, if not more. Like, I think he's going to blow the doors off the dynasty world. Nobody's going to be surprised because it's what is expected. The rest of 4.5 points come from just there's other good running backs out there, but it's mostly just because if there's a good chance he could get hurt, like more than anything. I think his situation's perfect. I think the player's perfect. I think there's a 6.5% chance he's the number 1 overall fantasy football running back.
Love it. Matt, what do you think?
That's a good number, Rich.
Jump on board. Vacation train. We're all going down south.
Arthur Smith, he wants to establish a run, especially with the young quarterback. And the only thing that kind of worries me is, Cordell Patterson still kind of floating around in some kind of weird pass catching role. So that is kind of what's worrying me, because I don't think it's a player or like his skills that could slow him down. It might just be his development and kind of
Arthur Smith.
Is he where? Well, no, but he doesn't want his young quarterback to get killed either. If he's not doing what he needs to do in pass pro, something silly like that, where Cordell Patterson is doing it better, or even what's his name?
Tyler Algier. Yeah, you're not gonna see Cordell Patterson in the backfield this year, my friend. Over under likely-o-meter that Cordell Patterson has 10 carries out of the backfield. More than 10 carries out of the backfield.
9.5.
Yeah, over whatever the line is, over.
Under.
That'll take
now
games.
Now I'm just making up total rules. Now I'm
under.
Just picking over. Over.
They're gonna put him at receiver and tight end. I'm telling you, he's gonna play tight end. No, not happening.
Even if they just use him at Debo as a Debo Samuel, he'll get over 10.
Not happening.
All right,
but anyway, it's still a good number. I'm just trying to rationalize my maybe lowering it by a half a point, or maybe a full point. So maybe I'm going to go 5.5.
It's a 55%. Garrett, where are you at?
Yep.
I'm a little lower than you guys, not because I don't think he has one of the best odds of all of the running backs to do it. It's just really, really hard to pick the number 1 overall guy. About a different guy every single season. Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, I think are still very viable options as the number 1 overall guy. So I'm going to go
Could this be Chubb? Could this be Chubb's year? With
it could be a Chubb year.
Yeah, with him being good in the passing game. Saquon could be running back 1 overall.
Yeah, so there's a lot of guys that could do it. I think he has one of the best odds to do it, but just with the plethora of players that could get to that point, I'm going to go at like a 3.5.
Oh, wow. A non-believer. Wow. Whoa.
Total non-believer.
Yeah, don't invite him to sing with the monkeys.
Shun the non-believer.
He's probably not even drafting him number 1 in drafts right now.
Wait,
I'm the only one with him on the Scott Fishbowl team.
Ooh.
Do you guys have him?
That's not even a dynasty team, dude. That's a redraft.
Yeah, because I'm counting on him this year.
Yeah.
That's even more important.
Okay, I would take him 1-1 in redraft. Well, say something now.
Oh, burn.
Huh?
You could have taken him in the Scott Fishbowl.
That's a super flex league, son.
Yeah, you said 1-1 in redraft.
Yeah, that's not super flex. I don't play super
redraft league.
I don't play super flex redraft leagues. If I did, I wouldn't take him 1-1. Next.
All right. Russell Wilson bounces back and is a quarterback 1 again this season.
1?
So no chance.
You have quarter points available.
You said QB1?
Quarterback.
QB1.
A QB1.
So a top 12 guy.
So he has to be a top 12 fantasy football quarterback?
Correct.
1.
Woo.
I don't
like no chance.
I mean, there's a 1%, 10%.
No, one is 0 in this game.
Oh, 1.5.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't, dude. Listen, his run balance isn't. His running game isn't really there. He's too old.
Pretty much gone.
Yeah, it's pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Everything that John Carroll did not, or not John, Pete Carroll. Didn't want like the reason he's like, listen, Russ, shut up and play for the team because this is what you do well and succeed. He was right. He goes to the Broncos, shows it right, and I know he's banged up there and whatnot, but like this game is just littered with young, talented quarterbacks right now, and guys that are rushing the ball really well. I look for Daniel Jones to outproduce Russell Wilson again. I look for Deshaun Watson to outproduce Russell Wilson. We've already got the high end studs already at the top of the list. I think Kirk Cousins could be better than Russell Wilson. I think Aaron Rodgers, who's pretty much also a non-mobile quarterback, has a better chance of finishing higher than Russell Wilson because to me, they both have really good receiving weapons. I think Aaron Rodgers has got to help. Like they both have running backs come off ACL injuries. I just think Rodgers got a little better situation there. I think it's hard for Russ to finish in that category again for the situation he is, and honestly, the player he is in his current state. So. I mean, to me, we haven't seen a good Russell Wilson in a couple of years. I don't think, even though just because Sean Payton's going there, like I don't think he doesn't come in year 1 and change the whole dynamic of Russell Wilson. I think Sean Payton's actually going to run the ball more than they even did last year, which could potentially help Russell Wilson, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get him to the quarterback 1 category. I mean, I think his ceiling to me is like right around quarterback 15, honestly. I could probably think about 14 other guys I would draft ahead of Russell Wilson. So, yeah.
I mean,
1.5. I feel good about that. Crystal ball it.
Right.
Write down. Take a picture.
You have guys like Dak Prescott, Tua,
yeah,
Herbert, Fields, Daniel Jones, Goff,
Mahomes,
Trevor Lawrence,
Josh Allen,
Mahomes. I haven't even gotten to the good guys. Yeah, Josh Allen's Hurts, Burrow,
Watson.
Mahomes.
Yeah. I get it.
So I don't see where he's going to slide in and beat one of those guys.
Trevor Lawrence.
So I'm going to be
Jared Goff.
I already said that. I said that.
Lamar Jackson.
I might have forgotten him actually, but I might have said them. Regardless, I'm going to have a pretty low number. I'm going to say 2.25 just because I want to be able to flex my 0.25 muscles on the quarterbacks.
New rules. New rules, new me, babe.
Yep.
I'll go a little bit higher than you guys. I'm going to go 4.25. I'm bold.
Wow. Let's just adopt him. You love him so much.
I'm still saying it's less than even chance, but
not too much.
Look, he was quarterback 16 last year. Part of being a quarterback 1 is just playing all the games. Like if you play every game, your odds of getting in are pretty good. One of the guys that was ahead of him last year was Tom Brady. He's retired. So if he plays every game, and this is just a marginal improvement on this team, you could sneak into quarterback 12, 11. Like it's not that difficult.
Points per game, he was 24th.
You know what? Right. You know what? You're right. I'm changing my score. I'm going to go down to a 1.
No chance ever, no matter what.
Dude, write down. I'm telling you. No chance. 0 chance.
All right.
0.0.
Let's go on to the third Isaiah Likely-o-meter question. J.K. Dobbins tops 1,500 total yards.
Rich, you want to take this half back?
Listen,
half back, half point question?
I love J.K. Dobbins, and I think he's a super talented player. He's already kind of talking smack about wanting being paid, whatnot. Like, I don't know how that's all going to kind of come into fruition. I know it's a knee cleanup, but 1,500 total yards, that's a lot of yards. Definitely with we don't know how much involved. For a running back that I think is very viable in the passing game, you're not a guy who's really caught almost no footballs in the NFL. Even though I think he can do that. Like, he has not shown he can do that. So I would say this is about a 3. And I'm saying that because, like, I really do like the player, and I definitely think it's possible. But, I mean, a great rushing year is 1,400 yards. That's fantastic. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know how or even if he'll be used in the passing game. So I have to go with a low number here in 3. If it was a player I didn't like, I'd be back into the Russell Wilson situation. But I love him so much, I'm bumping up to a 3.
No chance.
Listen, I think him in a different offense, I think that would be a number that he can achieve. I think with Lamar Jackson stealing rushing yards from him and not really being a guy that gets running backs heavily involved in the passing game in any kind of, like, I guess, with any kind of consistency. I think that's going to be tough to do. I think he's probably going to be closer to a 1,200 yard guy, total yards, if he stays healthy and everything works out well. 1,500 yards it would be amazing, and I have him on some teams, and I would love that to happen. But I really think it's highly unlikely. I think I'm going to go probably 1.5 to 1.5, half point. Yep.
I had a hard time with this one because 1,500 is a lofty number, and because the tricky part is we do have an extra game now than we had before. So some of these higher rushing totals are slightly more achievable with that extra game. He was averaging, once he came back from getting the knee cleanup, he was averaging right around 100 yards per game. He was getting a good amount of rushing attempts per game, 15, 13, 12, 17. So he was getting the work. But you're right. The receiving aspect of this is the tricky part. So I think he would have to get around 1,300 to 1,350 in the rushing yard department to be able to hit this mark. While I think that's possible, I don't know that I would necessarily say it's probable. So I'm going to go with about a 4. I think it's about a 4 for me on we'll go 3.5 to 4 since I can use the half points.
Yeah, 3.5.
3.5 to 4 would probably be the range, because if there's somebody that could do it on limited carries, if he has his old explosiveness back, I think he's one of those guys that could. Because remember, these 100 and 125 yard games where he had a long in that game of 44 rushing yards, 37 rushing yards. All of a sudden, those are 65-yard touchdowns, 75-yard touchdowns, as opposed to getting caught from behind because he just wasn't 100%. So a couple of those breakaway runs look a little different this year. It could put him at a close pace to hit that 1,500 total yards.
Yeah, I can 100% see him doing it. Like, I feel like I like the player a ton, and I can easily see him doing it. It's just there's so much, like, unknown there. Like, I can't say the odds are great, like you said, but, like, I think he does it.
Telling me there's a chance. All right,
I'm a lot lower than him, obviously, than either one, and it's not talent.
We're all under 4, I mean? So
yeah,
right.
None of us are overly optimistic. All right, man, we don't have time for many more.
Yeah, we do.
Right.
Come on, we're gonna throw all. We're doing every single one of these. So
all right, let's do it. All right, number 4, Jonathan Mingo has the most rookie wide receiver fantasy points this year. Where would you put that on the Isaiah Likely O-meter?
I would go 5. I think Jordan Addison has the most receiving points this year from a fantasy football standpoint. So I think Addison's I would give Addison like an 8, but I'll give Mingo, I think Mingo's in line to be a solid second option there. With now a ton of options. With him, Bryce, he's got a good quarterback, but the team is it's kind of like somewhat of a mess. We don't even know if Mingo's going to be the number 1 guy in that roster. Could easily be like a Terrace Marshall Jr. there. So for me, I'll give it a 5, 50% chance because he's going to start probably right away, which helps the cause. I just think Jordan Addison's also going to start and be the number 2 receiver on that team, which is a much better NFL offense and much better. The fact that he doesn't have to be the number one guy and has the number one receiver in NFL opposite of him, I think it really helps him a ton. So if it wasn't for Jordan Addison, I would say there's a higher, but I'm going to go 5.
Yeah, Jonathan Mingo. Obviously, we like him. We liked him kind of before. I feel like the rest of the community kind of caught on him, or not the community, but just like the NFL or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Twitterverse or whomever. So I like the player. He's got a ton of upside, but like you mentioned, Jordan Addison is a finished product. I feel like Jonathan Mingo has some stuff to kind of work on and some rough edges to round off before I think he's ready to like really take charge and be a leader in the house of any kind of rookies, first years, any type of wide receiver room. So I think there's probably guys on his team that are going to lead that team in wide receiver yards as well. So it might just bump him down the total list too far for him to catch a guy like Addison, who I think is going to go into Minnesota and be the bona fide number 2. He's already so crisp and kind of polished that he's just going to be able to kind of chew up coverage across from Justin Jefferson as he gets doubled and triple teamed all over the field. So I think Addison's the guy that's going to lead this category as far as rookie wide receivers. And so Mingo, I'll give wide open. We can do anything, right?
You can pick any number, any fraction, decimal.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 3.1.
3.1.
Yeah, on the Richter scale.
I'm not going to belabor the point because I agree with you guys. I think Addison's the most likely. You look at the guys that you would think would be ahead of him. I don't know the target volume that Johnston, JSN, Zay Flowers, like I just don't know that any of them have the target volume in year one to really compete for this. So I think it's down to these two players. I think Addison's the most likely, but I think Mingo's in the ballpark. So I'll give him a 4.38 to get this accomplished. All right, back to another receiver here. Michael Pittman Jr. flourishes with Anthony Richardson and finishes as a top 15 wide receiver in fantasy this year. Rich?
We give that a 2.
Please,
2.
no.
You're not feeling good about it.
No, it has nothing to do with Michael Pittman Jr. I think this situation this year is just going to be, listen, Anthony Richardson, he offers a ton of upside from fantasy football, and we all love the upside of the Russian. You're talking about the Indianapolis Colts, that team has blitz situation where the defenders are on the quarterback much, much more than almost anybody else in the NFL. The offensive line is not what it used to be. I think Anthony Richardson's got a lot of growing to do to develop into an NFL quarterback, and that's going to take time. And I think he's going to run. I think we're going to see a lot of kind of like what Justin Fields did last year, right? Like a lot of run the ball, lean on Jonathan Taylor, a lot of him scrambling the football. So it's going to take time. And unfortunately, that's going to result in Michael Pittman probably being a low end. I mean, he's still the number 1 receiver on that team. He's probably going to see the most targets and produce. But there's too many other guys in better situations this year that are going to fill out that top 15. I mean, literally, if you look at last year's top 15 players, I think every one of those guys is going to finish ahead of the Michael Pittman. And honestly, you can even go lower than the top 15 and some of these guys. I mean, guys are like at 23, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson at 21, Cooper Kupp at wide receiver 22, DK Metcalf at wide receiver 19, T. Higgins with 17. I'll skip Mike Evans. I'll skip Brandon Ayuk, Terry McLaurin's wide receiver 14, Tyler Lockett 13, Jahmyr Chase, DeVonta Smith, Christian Kirk, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Calvin Ridley wasn't even playing last year, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson. Like, for me, like for a player that I like, and he's a really solid young player, that's a tough road to climb already. Like with an okay quarterback that throws the football, because we have such a good receiving core right here. And yes, he's the number 1 guy, but his quarterback, unfortunately, I think is going to really hinder him and hold him back. I know he's got a good arm, but I really expect him and honestly, this is good for Anthony Richardson to kind of take that approach at the Bears last year, really slowly work him into the offense. Jim Irsay was just on the radio the other day saying, listen, we understand that Gardner Minshew could come in right away and he'll probably do pretty solid and help us out. But we have to get Anthony Richardson on the field if he wants, which I agree 100% on this too. If we want him to grow, we want him to develop, the best situation for him to do that is to get him on the NFL field. And I think I agree. And I think that's, with the owner saying that, the coach is going to lead that way, even though he said it's the coach's decision. And to do that, I think the approach that the Bears took last year is a really good approach for Anthony Richardson. Slowly bring him along, let him get on there, let him see the defenses, let him read the defense and react. Not necessarily go out there and make plays with your arm, but go out there and feel the pace of the game of the NFL. Go out there and learn the game. And you have Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. You do get Michael Pittman, but you also have your God-given athletic ability and speed to go out there and make moves on the ground as well. So a lot of RPOs, things along those lines. It's just going to hurt Michael Pittman Jr. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Michael Pittman Jr. finishes as a wide receiver 3 this year, like a high-end wide receiver 3. But again, that has no dismissal on his dynasty value long-term. I just think it's going to be that year of development. And even if he takes a step forward in the second half of the season, that won't be enough, for him to really kind of fish that top 15 category for me.
So what was your number?
I give that a 2.
All right, I couldn't remember.
Hey,
that was
it's
a
wide
long
receiver.
one.
I'm gonna give that
wide open. Rich.
I'm gonna give that a 2.22.
All right, I like
all
that.
around.
Ducks are on the
I like
pond,
the
ladies.
consistency. All right. What does that even mean?
If you
came from a baseball game, you heard somebody say,
no. If you're playing poker and you got a pair of 2s, they look like 2 little ducks.
Oh, all right, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right,
ducks are on the pond.
That's how you table talk and do it.
I always
slyly,
thought it was bases loaded where ducks are on the pond.
Well, there's that.
I mean, what is this?
Anyway,
Anaheim Ducks are you're thinking hockey.
Quack.
Back to Pittman. Last year, I mean, I don't even remember, dude. I don't even. 3.1. 3.1. Same as the last one for me. I don't care. Let's go on. Move on.
Yeah, it's on the Richard scale.
On the Richardson scale. I had to put it low too. I want this to be higher. This is one of those ones where my heart wants this to be higher than it is.
The longest show we did all year.
but we really just can't. We can't put it much higher than that. I'll go with a 3.1 just to give it a little bit higher, but it's unlikely to happen.
Jocker. That was my number, man. Get your own number. You got an infinity. It's wide open. I did 3.1, and you just came out with 3.1, dude. Give me a 3.1, 2.
This 8,000 million number options to go with. Who's takes yours?
4.2893784. Alexander Mattison finishes as an RB1 this season. Where are we putting that?
Rich, you haven't talked in a while. You want to go, man?
I'm gonna give that a 4.5. Because the fact that he's a starter, if he can stay healthy, it's about a ton. You know what I mean? If he can do that, but we haven't seen Alexander Mattison viable really in the passing game too much. We don't know how that's going to really work out for him. We've seen him be a running back. Is he a dynamic running back? No, and again, he doesn't have to be a dynamic running back. If he's a starter, he's getting all the carries, he stays healthy all year, that literally alone could propel you to be a running back 1. That's why I'm going to give him a 4.5, where it's almost 50%. But we don't know if he's viable in the passing game. They got Ty Chandler there. They drafted, did they bring Kenny McIntosh in as well?
No, that's Dwayne McBride.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dwayne McBride, who's really dynamic in the passing game there. So for me,
in the running game, he's not dynamic in the passing game. Yeah, he didn't catch any passes.
I'm sorry.
Rich.
For me, I mean, with so many good young running backs out there, I think here's almost a slightly under 50% chance to do it if he can stay healthy. But again, without the go-to pass catching ability, which I'm not saying he can't do it, that uncertainty, there's 2 other running backs that can do that. If Jerick McKinnon's the third down running back, or he's on the field for getting half the snaps for the Kansas City Chiefs this year, for most of the year, Jerick McKinnon can literally finish as a running back 1 just because of that, because he'd be so viable in the passing game. Jahmyr Gibbs, if he's just viable in the passing game, finishes as a running back 1. DeAndre Swift, if he's just mostly using the passing game in Philadelphia and catching enough footballs, he can finish as a running back 1. It kind of just offsets these running backs that we don't know if they're pass catching guys. It can push them down a little bit. And we see that every single year. We see a pass catcher running back kind of sneak their way into that running back 1 category, and you wouldn't view them as a dynamic runner of the football. And now even too with that Alvin Kamara charge going down to a misdemeanor, odds of him being suspended are almost slim to none too. So that propels him back up to be a really good value in Dynasty Fantasy Football. When we were talking about like last week of like good value running backs to go out there and trade for, that puts his value back up there. So 4.5 for me.
I mean, that's a pretty decent number. He is going to be a hard guy to nail down. I mean, is he a 1-for-1 replacement for Dalvin Cook on a short-term 2 to 3 game basis? Yes. I mean, I think we've seen that before, but can he do it over the course of the season for an entire season? That's my biggest lingering question with him. I think he's got the body type to hold up. I don't know if he obviously doesn't have the explosiveness that Dalvin Cook has. He's a notch down from him in that respect. So for me, I'm struggling with this one a little bit because he could. I mean, he could go out there and score, 7-8 touchdowns, and that could be the deciding factor. And even if he doesn't catch 40 to 50 balls, maybe he catches 25 to 30, and combine that with him getting most of the in between tackle stuff, and you're good to go. But it could go the other way too. Like you mentioned, there's a ton of young running backs on that team that they could be looking. Hey, it's not like they signed Mattison to a super long deal or anything like that. I think it was a 2-year extension or something. Yeah. So they could be looking towards the future already. And hey, let's just do a committee for a couple of years. Maybe one of these young guys emerges. If they don't, then we'll draft another guy high, and that'll be our running back of the future. So there's a lot of unknowns there. With that said, I'm probably going to go. We're half backs. I'm gonna go slightly more than 50%, 5.5, just because even though I said all that, I do think he's probably going to get the lion's share of it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be the lowest on this one. I think I'm at a 3.5, and part of it is just looking at redraft rankings. There's a lot of guys that I would probably take slightly ahead of Mattison. And I worry, and this could shift, this could change, but last year, Minnesota was one of the most pass-heavy teams in the red zone. And that's something else. If you're not going to get a lot of passing work, you got to get a lot of touchdowns. And I don't anticipate the passing volume to go down much because now TJ Hawkinson's there for a full year as opposed to just part of a year. And they added another wide receiver weapon and Jordan Addison. So I don't really see that running rate in the red zone going down at all. So I just think it's going to be he's going to have a tough time getting tons of touchdowns. He could still, sneak into the double digits, but if you're not getting the passing work, you really need 13, 14 touchdowns to be a really solid RB1. And so I think he finishes just outside at like 13, 14 mark. So I'll give it a 3.5. Close, but no cigar for me. All right, last one here. One of our favorite players to talk about. Garrett Wilson is a top 5 NFL player in receiving yards. We'll just say out of the wide receivers, top 5 wide receiver in receiving yards next season. So not fantasy finish, just receiving yards. Where would you put that?
You say just receivers. So like Travis Kelce's 1,338 yards don't count. Okay.
Nope. Just receivers.
I really like Garrett Wilson this year, and I love the fact that he's going to pair with Aaron Rodgers, like a very accurate quarterback with a decent arm, and I love Garrett Wilson a ton. That's just tough with the guys that are ahead of him. I mean, Ja'Marr Chase, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, those are 3 guys I feel like are somewhat locks. And, I almost want to throw like Stephon Diggs in there too.
Stephon Diggs was up there. He was number 5 last year.
Yeah,
AJ Brown was number 4. Devontae Adams probably takes a step back this year, right? I mean, he was number 3.
CeeDee Lamb takes a step up. Ja'Marr Chase wasn't in the top 5 last year. So again, you would expect a guy like CeeDee Lamb to step up. Jalen Waddle's explosive enough to kind of be in that category. Calvin Ridley, we talked about him earlier, is potentially getting there. I think in the right situation, Chris Godwin's the kind of player that could finish. It wouldn't be surprised me if he finished in top 5 yards. But Garrett Wilson's 100% talented enough to do it. You know what I mean? But top 5, that's a lofty category. So I'm going to go 5 for a 50% chance just because I think he is talented enough to do it, to finish in that like top 5. There's just so many other good receivers around, and it easily could do the same. That would give same thing for CeeDee Lamb. I'd give him a 5 as well. I'd give CeeDee Lamb a 5.1 compared to the 5 over Garrett Wilson. That makes sense. I would give Stephon Diggs a 6. You know what I mean? It's like none of these guys are like I mean, the only one I'd probably give like a 9 to, honestly, or I'd probably give out 2 9s, and that's Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill. Like those are my two solid 9s.
And don't forget Cooper Kupp. I mean,
Cooper Kupp. Yeah, you're right. And they're going to throw the football a ton because they're doo-doo punters. So, yeah. Right. So 5 still, but yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of guys, even though he's a 5, it's 50-50. There's a lot of guys that give like 5.1s to 5.9s to ahead of him.
No. So, I mean, realistically, it's Justin Jefferson, it's Tyreek Hill, it's Cooper Kupp if he's healthy all year as probably the top 3 guys in receiving yards. And then you're looking at, AJ Brown and Diggs, like
CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Chase, CeeDee Lamb.
Chase. Like, can he get in that group? That's a tough group to break into.
I mean, CeeDee Lamb was 6 last year, and this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like your number, Rich. I think it's very optimistic. I think it's a little bit too high for me. I'm going to go 4.172.
I think I'm going to go with a 4.172 on this.
Yeah, that seems about right, Garrett.
I just want to take a really specific, exact number that I've been thinking this whole time, and Matt wasn't.
Son of a.
No, it would absolutely be in the 3.5 to 4 range for me. I don't think it's another one that I don't think is likely. But if we're looking at the optimistic outcome, we've seen Aaron Rodgers find his go-to guy almost every year. Now, he didn't have anybody mature enough and ready last year to be that guy. But in the past, you look at the Jordy Nelsons, the Donald Drivers, the DeVonta Adams, that he finds that guy and he gives them tons of targets and tons of opportunities. And you could argue that Garrett Wilson is as talented, if not, and this might be blasphemous, if not maybe more talented than any receiver that Aaron Rodgers has ever had. There's a reason that Garrett Wilson was taken as high as he was. Now, DeVonta Adams is fantastic. He could easily end up still being the better receiver, but I love what Garrett Wilson does. And if there was one player that goes from, a wide receiver 3 type into a legitimate wide receiver 1 this year, it's Garrett Wilson. I think that's it.
All right. That's it, Nerd Herd. We're going on vacation, so we're pretty much going to take a step out here. Garrett and Jared will be hosting next show. Then me and Matt, we will be back in 2 weeks.
After that,
2 weeks, yeah, we'll be back after that.
After these messages, we got a lot of cool. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up. I can't wait to get in our division breakdowns here, the teams.
Right.
That's coming up actually really soon. We got a big announcement coming. I'm going to make a big announcement when we come back, where we'll be doing our first live show ever in the history of Dynasty Nerds. I mean, I guess we did do that one in New York at the cabin, but this is on a whole nother level.
But that wasn't a live show. It was just live for like Dennis that was sitting there watching us.
I was going to say, technically, we're live every time we do this with ourselves.
That's true.
Yeah. This one's going to be in front of thousands of people, though.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty intense. It blew my doors off. It'll probably blow some of your guys' doors off, too. So can't wait. Until then, I'm going to go. Next time you see me, I should be a little bit more tan.
Ditto. Adios.